Thanks, Carrie. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So, starting off with this quote: "The only constant in life is change." I've used this quote often in my personal and professional life, but this quote didn't begin to cover the abrupt change and the rapid pace of change we began experiencing in March. At the foundation, we went from a couple what if conversations around a possible coronavirus outbreak to we need to be ready to work remotely in 5 days, to maybe we've overreacted, to everything is shut down, all in less than 2 weeks. And I've never experienced whiplash, but I imagine that's what it feels like. At the foundation, we went completely remote office work on March 16th. We created a COVID-19 resource page with information for businesses, childcare providers, and nonprofits. And we launched a survey asking what impact the COVID-19 shutdown was having. The survey highlighted income loss and food and housing insecurity as the most pressing needs. On March 20th, our board of directors seeded and launched the Northwest Minnesota Emergency Disaster Recovery Fund with $100,000 so we could rapidly deploy grant funding. Thank you to the many donors and foundations who contributed to the fund. By June 30th, we had granted $197,000 to nonprofits and organizations serving Red Lake Nation and White Earth Reservation, and school districts, and many others. We granted $279,000 to childcare businesses and lent more than $869,000 to small businesses throughout the region. In just over 3 months, we processed more grants and loans than we normally do in a 12 to 18-month period. Following what we learned through the survey responses, our first round of grants targeted food and housing insecurity. To share a few of these stories from the nonprofit grantees, the Thief River Falls food shelf saw a 30% increase to those with needs in just 3 days. They utilized grant funding to purchase food and to help with the cost to deliver the food to those who are the most at risk for COVID-19 and homebound. I really love their mission: extinguish hunger, ignite hope. For me, that's a very inspiring mission. The City of Newfolden and the Newfolden Cafe used grant funding to help cover operating losses as they continue to provide food deliveries to homebound seniors in the communities of Newfolden, Viking, and Middle River. The Heritage Community Center in Thief River Falls utilized grant funding to continue to send out 250 to 300 meals each week to seniors who were isolated, now with no place to go as the community center was shut down. The Loaves and Fishes food shelf in Foston utilized grant funding to help meet the needs of individuals beyond food by being able to purchase and provide paper and cleaning products for those who are most vulnerable, including one individual waiting for a heart transplant. And the People's Church in Bemidji utilized grant funding to help pay for all of the increased demands due to changing health and safety protocol with COVID-19. They were able to stay open serving individuals experiencing homelessness and used the grant as gap funding as they waited for other funding to become available. And these are just a few of the many, many stories across the region as nonprofits, businesses, childcare providers, and all of us adjusted while working and living during a global pandemic. Also this spring, we launched a mental health webinar series. Don Ganji, Senior Development Officer, worked on getting this webinar series launched. The original intent was to help our farming communities coming off of the disastrous fall 2019 harvest and not knowing yet what the spring may bring. Little did we know how needed they would be to help with mental health around COVID-19. And just as we were getting into a new rhythm and a new routine, the murder of George Floyd on May 25th, and in the region, losing Officer Cody Holty in the line of duty on May 27th upended our world. My brother taught Cody at Norman County West and shared with me that Cody was one of his favorite students. We are humbly reminded again, more recently, that there is still so much work to be done to prevent violence and to create a just and equitable society. The Northwest Minnesota Foundation issued a statement on May 30th. To follow up words with action, we provided grants to the Community Foundation of Grand Forks, East Grand Forks and Region, and Voices for Racial Justice, and we joined the Minnesota Philanthropic Collective to combat anti-Blackness and realize racial justice. And all through this, we've been advocating for the region and keeping rural needs and issues front and center with state legislators. We have been encouraging all throughout the region to get counted in the 2020 census. Nate Dorr, our Vice President for Advocacy, has written letters to the editor, and we've shared about the census on social media and paid for social media boosts in communities often undercounted in the census. We've also recently been active promoting Minnesota's vote by mail as a viable option to participate in our democracy during this global pandemic. And we must be a glutton for punishment. On July 1st, the foundation switched over to a new software system. This is a major overhaul of almost all of our software functions: accounting, general ledger, donors database, giving history, fund advisor portal, lending, grant making, pretty much all of it. So more change for us, but we are really excited about the capabilities of the new system and improvements it will bring. But it is a steep learning curve for us. So please be patient with us over these next few months if our response rate isn't quite what it was before. In the end, we'll be a much stronger organization and partner for the region. Which brings me to recovery. And what does recovery look like, and are we even there yet? If you follow what infectious disease experts say, this virus will continue to roll through. In late March, with how quickly change happened, I had it in my mind that the way back would happen just as quickly. And it's been almost another form of grief, as I realized that the way back would be painstakingly slow and much more difficult to traverse. At the foundation, we've made the decision to continue to work remotely for the foreseeable future, while serving as an intermediary for multiple CARES Act funds. The Small Business Relief Grants, these are $10,000 grants to qualifying and lottery selected businesses in the region. The Northwest Small Business Development Center has received CARES Act funds for more one-on-one consulting for businesses, and the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Grants for early childhood. And we plan to release another grant round from the Northwest Minnesota Emergency Disaster Recovery Fund this fall for recovery and resiliency, so keep an eye out for that. I want to close with heartfelt gratitude to the Foundation's Board of Directors and staff for working so hard to deploy resources to businesses, child care providers, and the many organizations we've helped. To all the businesses, nonprofits, and child care providers, and everyone scrambling to adapt, to serve, and to survive. And to all of the frontline workers and volunteers, and as school is starting, our teachers and school professionals who are putting themselves at risk to care for others. Thank you so very much. And I'm reminded of another of my favorite quotes from Mr. Rogers. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." In seeing the helpers, I see hope.